Shalom, shalom. First and foremost, we want to begin by giving our praise and our glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai, Bahashem, Racha, Kodash. Double honors to the elders and to the apostles of the millstone, and enough respect to the brothers out there pushing and spreading the gospel of Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai to the four corners of the world. Through the spirit power of Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai, the brother Haran just has an article that had a very interesting topic, and it's pretty much pushing the narrative of the book of Jeremiah, the 49th chapter, the book of Jeremiah, the 50th chapter, which talks about the least of the flock shall draw them out, and which is also linking into different prophecies about the book of Ezekiel, the 38th chapter. So what's pretty much happening is that have here the book of Psalms, the 2nd chapter, verse 1, it says, "Why do the heathen rage and the people imagine a vain thing? And the kings of the earth set themselves and the rulers take counsel together against the Lord Yahweh and against his anointed, saying, Let us break their bands asunder and cast away their cords from us. But he that sitteth in the heavens shall laugh. The Lord Yahweh shall have them in derision, right? He shall make a mockery of them." And so, you see how long the Lord gave these devils to build their kingdom. And when their kingdom was set up, or in the process of them building a kingdom, them making war against the saint and prevailing and coming into power and prospering, all these times, they never gave glory unto the Yahweh Bashim Yashai, though they never even thought it, a priority to make righteousness a course of life, right? A way of living. And so, they do all these things, and today is the day of recompense, right? Now that the spirit of life from God has entered into his men, that we go out there and we accuse them before the Lord, we bring out, the evil works. Now the day of recompense has come, right? As we said in the previous sit down, how the books have been opened before the firmament, before the judgment seat of the Lord. We go out there, and through the spirit, the Lord has pronounced or has brought out a verdict against these Edomites. That's why in the book of Psalms, the 2nd chapter, you see how the destiny that the Lord made for them from the very beginning, which is a destiny of destruction, is being made manifest now. They can no longer prolong it. What they want is peace. They want a new world order. They want, they really want to prolong their kingdom. But it seems like however far the further they go in life, or the harder they try to, break themselves from the bands of this destiny, they just can't, So I think, Haran, if you have the title, you can just read it, and you get a bit more information on that, and then let the spirit flow from there.
Khan. Shalom. Yabashim Yashab Brakatham. All right, so this is on End Times Headlines. All right, and it's very appropriate for a website, but it says here, Israel warns Trump, right? Do you see the dynamic? Israel warns Trump. Okay, very interesting. It says, we may act alone if Iran crosses ballistic missile red line. So, obviously, if you've been paying attention to, geopolitical events, all right, these two countries they feature very heavily into biblical end time prophecies. All right, Israel, Iran, and then those two countries are the ones that pretty much become the vortex that brings in the major heavy hitters that ultimately brings in the thermonuclear destruction. All right, the end of Esau's kingdom, as we've been talking about for years, right? So it says here, Israeli defense officials recently told their U.S. counterparts that Iran's ballistic missile program represents an existential threat, and that Jerusalem is prepared to act unilaterally if necessary, right? So, it's, again, was a few months ago, Trump went ahead and, bombed, all right, back, I think it was last summer, right, where they sent those airstrikes to Iran, and then they said that it was because Iran was building some type of nuclear, armaments, if you will, right? And that they had destroyed it. Everything is good now, so we're back to square one. We can move on and be happy again. Now Israel's coming out and saying that they have ballistic missiles and it's an existential threat, right? So they say one thing and then they do the other. So that's how again, the man of sin being revealed. his very actions, his very words, all right, are a testament against him. Okay. And of course, brothers have anything to say, you can jump in. Um, I guess you wanna pick up or you wanna
Um,
continue?
yeah, I just wanna, since you mentioned the vortex, the book of Jeremiah, the 50th chapter, the book of Jeremiah, chapter 50, verse 49, it says, "Therefore hear ye the counsel of the Lord Yahweh, that he hath taken against Babylon, and his purposes, that he has purposed against the land of the Chaldeans. Surely the least of the flock, which is Amalek," which that's the I word that the brother just mentioned, and they will draw them out, right? And the flock represents, Esau. When you go into the book of well, not really just Esau, just the heathens in general, right? But Esau is primarily who the Amalekites belong to. That's the group that they belong to, and they are the least of them, right? When you look at how they live comparatively to the other Edomite nations, the smallest territory, small government, needs subsidizes. They need support in so many different arenas, and they act differently than how all these other nations act. So they are the least of the flock of the Edomites, and they draw out Esau to their destruction, and they do that by what? By causing all these turmoils that's going on, because when these nations they look at the actions of Amalek, they wonder like what is the good reason? Like what could possibly be the reason for you to act the way you're acting right now? And no one can come up with a reason. And so what happens when someone keeps claiming they're doing something for a reason, but they can never give a reasons as to what it is? Eventually people start pushing back, and alliances start being formed. Already alliances are being formed. And when you hear of the word BRICS and NATO and all these alliances being made, they don't realize that it's exactly how World War One started. It's exactly how World War Two started. It started because when someone makes an alliance and one person from that alliance gets into a problem, he has to drag the rest of the people that are with him into that conflict. And that is how, the Lord is creating this arena. It's kind of like a chain reaction, right? And he's preparing an arena for them to all meet in, so they can fight each other. And then the Lord, on top of all that chaos, will bring his destruction upon them. So and even if you go to the book of Jeremiah, the 49th chapter, the same judgment is spoken of, but it's sort of saying Babylon, the same Edomites, emphasizing how great destruction Esau's downfall is going to be. All right, so I think you can
All right.
continue on that.
I got a quick precept. This is the book of Isaiah, chapter 14, verse 27. And just getting straight to the point, it says here, "For the Lord Yahweh Bahasham Yahweh Shai of hosts hath purposed, and who shall disannul it?" And when you disannul something, you basically make it void, right? And so the scriptures tell you the Most High declares the end from the beginning, right? We as prophets, we don't necessarily make things happen. We tell you the things that are already set to happen. But there is one who actually makes these things happen. Okay, when he declares the end from the beginning, he's the one making the end, and that's why he's telling you what he is going to do. It's like if an artist was going to paint a picture, right, or somebody was going to build a project. They tell you, "Hey, I'm going to do this. I'm going to build it this way. I'm going to do it that way." And it turns out that way because they're making what it is they said they were going to do. That's how the Most High deals. Um, so looking at these things that are happening on the earth today, it's no surprise because the Lord had already predetermined and preordained these things to happen for thousands of years. The different prophets and different generations came back. They saw the same things, just showed it different ways, from different angles, different perspectives. But majority of the prophets saw the very time that we're living in now. And now we are at the point where you're not guessing anymore, okay, as to like, oh, is this actually the place? Is this actually the time? We've passed that point. And so knowing that we're in that time, you cannot go back, right? Like if you look at the world today, the world looks much different than it did pre C19 times, right? In a very big way. And a lot of people haven't even realized that. Yeah, they think, okay, they're no longer under certain restrictions, but the way the world is moving, Because what's this guy? It was Biden who said that during those times that we're in the New World Order, right? He came out and said that. And because people didn't see George Orwell 1984 the next day, they thought, oh, okay, he just said it. No, what he said was all the things that are actually gradually happening. And now look at the world today. So going back to Isaiah 14 and 27, it says, for the Lord of hosts hath purposed, and we know what he has purposed. Who shall disannul it? And that's a rhetorical question, because nobody can disannul the purpose of the Lord. And his hand is stretched out, and who shall turn it back? See, so the Lord is working, as it says in Psalms 119 and 126. It is time for thee to work, Lord, for they have made void thy law. The Lord is working, and nobody can pull his hand back. Nobody can tell him to chill. You just got to get out the way. If his target is not on you. If it is, then there is no way you're getting out of. Right? King David said that. If I make my bed in hell, you'll find me. If I go up, into the heavens, there you are. So there is no escaping the Lord. But we're now at the point where if you look around in society, and it becomes more and more obvious when shit is getting crazier and crazier, but the reaction of the people is being less and less. The amount of shit that you're seeing coming out today, like things that'll make your jaws drop and make your eyes pop wide open, you would expect that to be the reaction of the world. But it's like, wait, these these people made a bigger fuss over less big of a deal in the past. And now that the craziest things are, they're literally coming out and telling you, look, we practice satanic rituals, right? We're doing this, and this is what we're going to do to you. And people look at it like, yeah, okay, all right, it is what it is. And they keep it pushing. And we sit here and we look at it like, yo, is this the world today where you're talking about people betting on whether a man is going to wear a dress on a Super Bowl halftime? Like that's the thing. It's a thing. And when you look on the comments of that, it's not people saying, what the hell, like, what's going on here? You got people actually betting on that. This is the life that the world is in right now. When a society gets to this point, you don't reverse this. This isn't something you reverse. You know why? Because it didn't happen overnight. Like the saying goes, Rome wasn't built in a day. But then again, Rome didn't fall in a day either, right? So it took a long time and a gradual process to get the world to this point. And it's not going to be fixed overnight, at least not in the same way. We know it'll be fixed when Yahushua gets back, but even the scriptures tell you that it's going to take a period of time after the destruction for us to re-educate the world. Buzz got it.
Hey, I got a precept just to back up what you were saying, as far as the the times that we're living in, and the fact that what we're seeing is a escalation to a certain point, right, where everything will be fulfilled based off of what the word of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua has ordained, right? And the way that it's moving, it's like a train, right? A locomotion. And when you look at a train in locomotion, it picks up speed, right? It starts off slow and then it picks up speed. But then eventually it gets to a speed to where, okay, you're moving fast. But the thing about it is, once it starts moving, it's not going to be, it can't go back into, the station that it was. And that's where we're at right now. We're in a point where, and the beautiful thing about it is, because time only goes forward, everything was always moving toward the end of this age, right? This is why the scripture says that Esau is the end of this world. So when the disciples, the men of old, the prophets of old, when they got these visions, right? Particularly when Ezra got that vision of Esau being end, Esau wasn't even in power. He wasn't even in a position of power. There was no Greek Empire, no Romans, none of that. But he received the vision of the end. And this is why he asked that question, which is what all of the righteous men ask, is when shall be the pottering asunder of times, right? When is it going to be when this happens? And that's why the answer was, well, Esau is the end. And we're now living in that point. We're living in the age where that is being, where that is manifested and it's being fulfilled, as it says in Second Ezra, the 9th chapter, that let me actually pull that up real quick. Second Ezra, chapter 9. I got it here in the GNT. It says, verse 6, I start at 5. It says, the beginning and the end of everything that happens in the world are clear. Okay. And as days go on, it becomes more and more clear. But for us that, were a part of the household of faith, the Lord imparted into us the knowledge, right, and the foresight to be able to see it clearly happening before, we got to this point. But now, everybody else is basically getting on that same wave. Now, of course, you still got certain, a lot of people that are blinded, but really it's a lot of Babylonians. Because when you step outside of America, um, you have these American governments prepping their citizens for war, right? World War III. They're telling them to get ready. They're telling them, their hospitals to prepare for a massive influx of casualties and people and things of that nature. So, they're having, certain simulation events of, fallout, winter fallout, or radiation, all these things. So it at least gets them in a mindset. Okay, this could potentially, take place, right? They tell them to stock up for 3 months, 6 months, or whatever. Here in America, they're not telling people that at all, and that's why it says in Isaiah 47 chapter that this is the place, right, that dwells carelessly. You see, you can see the mindset of that being embodied in America the most. This is how we know one of the ways that we know that America is Babylon the Great, because although it's involved in so many different wars and conflicts and international intrigues, as it would say in the GNT in Second Ezra the ninth chapter, people here don't still consider what this leads up to or what this is all meaning, although the Lord have makes it very clear. And the only way you truly understand that is if you are taking heed unto the words of Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, right? Jeremiah the sixth chapter tells you, I have set watchmen, right, that shall blow the trumpet and tell you to hearken to the voice of the Lord, but they say we will not hearken. So you can't say you didn't hear can't say you didn't hear the trumpet. You can't say you wasn't warned. You're going to have to sit there and say we made the conscious decision to ignore it. Give me this. I'm gonna get this here in the book of Proverbs. Where is it? Proverbs, I believe it's the 24th chapter. So bear with me. Yeah, Proverbs chapter 24, verse 12. It says, don't excuse yourself by saying, look, we didn't know. For God, and this is in the NLT, for God understands all hearts and he sees you. He who guards your soul knows you. He will repay all people as their actions deserve. Okay. And this is why the Lord sent the prophets. Just like how Yahweh Shai said, if I did not come, there would have been no cloak for their sins. In the same thing, we are ambassadors of Yahweh Shai. So we really are set out here, for the sealing of the elect, through the preaching of the word, and then also the condemnation of those that deliberately don't listen. So you can't excuse yourself in saying we didn't know. The Lord's going to say, "Well, I sent all my prophets." Those the guys that you were making fun of. The guys that you were laughing at. Drewski was making fun of. He even made it in a way that it was mockery. So you still coming across it, right? And a wise person would consider, okay, what is this that people are talking about or showing, or why are they making fun of them? But instead, they just, as it says in Psalms, the first chapter, they sit in the council of mockers, right? And they actually go in with the mockery and misusing the prophets. And that's why the Lord says it's going to come. The wrath is going to come upon you with no remedy, because the remedy was taking heed to the prophets. But because you chose not to take heed to the prophets, when the wrath comes, you're not going to have a remedy. You're not going to have something that is going to be able to, excuse you from the judgment that is coming. And as it says, the scripture says, he knows your heart. He knows the fact that you didn't care to listen, that you didn't care to take heed. See? Last one, then I'll pass it. Here in the book of Second Ezra, the sixth chapter, verse 26. It says, Salakia, not sixth chapter. Ezra, chapter 4, verse 26. In the GNT, it says, Uriel, which is the angel, answered, if you live long enough, you will be surprised at what you will see, because this age is rapidly passing away, right? Going back to the analogy of the train, right? The locomotion. It starts off slow, but now you're seeing these signs and these things happening at rapid speed, right? Where before it would be like one event here, then a few months, another event, then in a few months. But that was the patience. That was the patience that we had to have. We're starting with our elders and apostles, that it would take time. But now when you see in the digital age, where you seeing them speak about, the MOTB and the AI, right? It's like something new about that is coming out every week. And then on top of that, the wars, right? The wars is they're just speaking about that daily. Right now we're at a point of just, really, with us, because we're anticipating, we're getting fatigue of like waiting, so to speak. Like, what are y'all doing? Y'all already sending all this massive armada. You might as well just go. Everybody, you're about to go to war. You might as well just hit the fight. But of course, we have to balance that with the spiritual of knowing that all of these things are in the hands of the Lord. But if you are just a regular individual, that's why you have a lot of these experts and analysts. These people that go on these podcasts and these YouTube. They're saying, oh yeah, it's going to happen. All the signs point to this. So it's rapidly passing away. This age is rapidly passing away, because what is that going to lead to? You think war, especially, with Iran and obviously who they are allied with, you think that's going to lead to prosperity? And that's a simplicity of Babylonians, right? They really think that, okay, America could still come out on top. There is no coming out on top for you. And that's because you're not taking heed to what is written. It says, this age is so full of misery, verse 27, and imperfection, that it cannot hold all of the blessings that God has promised to the righteous in the time to come. And this is why we are hastening the coming of the day of the Lord, right? We are, looking for these events to take place, because we know that in order for us to get the glory, in order for us to get the peace in the kingdom, right, and everything that comes with that, this age got to go. All right. And the Lord allowed us to have an insight by way of his signs and the understanding to, give to us the knowledge of what that time is going to look like. What this age is going to look like. That's going to lead up into the new age, right? The end of your world, the end of your age. And there is no turning back. There's no prophecy that speaks of this is going to happen, and then we're just going to go back to normal, or go back to a time like before. You can't find one prophecy. The Lord said it is the very same time where he began to visit the world which he made. That's how the Lord always spoke about, out of the prophets, how the visions is always spoke about. It only just gets worse, right? Verse 28, Salakia, 27. It says, cannot hold all the blessings that God has promised to the righteous in the time to come. The evil about which you have asked me has already been planted, but the time for the harvesting is not yet. This evil must be harvested, right? Which is why Esau had to come and rule, right? The man of sin, the son of perdition, the wicked, the bases of man. The Lord set his kingdom for last, because you can't get more wicked than Esau, right? He let the Babylonians rule, the Persian Medes, the Hamites, all of them. He let them all rule, but it's never been as much wickedness as it is in Esau's kingdom. Going into what we were speaking about, the Epstein files and everything that they're coming out with. Yeah, you've had these ancient kingdoms and empires do these things, but not on the level that Esau's doing, because he's not only just worshiping. So you might have the Canaanites only worship Molech and then their other gods, but Esau's worshiping Molech. He's worshiping Marduk. He's worshiping Ishtar. He's worshiping Shiva. He's going to all the gods. He's bringing all of the idols here. But then at the same time, he says, but we hold up the Bible. At least these devils, at least these heathens, they say, we don't know nothing about the God of Israel. We're going to work with our gods. This devil says, we're going to do all this wickedness, but we're going to call ourselves the sons of God. That's what infuriates the Lord the most. And then on top of that, you're going to persecute the worst, your actual people. So the evil is already sown. And now is a time of the harvesting. And this is why we're seeing all of these things taking place. This is why we're seeing all of these things come to the light. Because as it says in Revelation 14 chapter, the Lord I think the angel told, the Lord basically to put his sickle into the earth for the harvest is ripe. Joel, the second chapter, speaks about that. Speaks about that as well. So the harvest is ripe. And as a farmer, you don't wait, right? When it's ripe, you want to eat a fruit. You go to the store. You look for the fruit that are ripe or just about to be ripe. And that's the time that we're living in, the age of the ripeness of the earth. That's a title right there. I'm trying to take.
Yeah, the
Precept.
book of
Oh, you can go
go
ahead.
ahead. I had Micah chapter 2, verse 10, speaking about America being carelessly. It says, "Arise ye and depart, for this is not your rest, because it is polluted. It shall destroy you even with a sore destruction." Now, the book of Micah 2 and 10, it's talking about the wicked Jakes and how a land where they thought they were going to be settled in forever was going to be a place where somebody will come in and exile them from that land. And similarly, this is how people are in Babylon. They think that this is the safest place in the world, right? They dwell carelessly, and because they have not felt the wrath of the Lord, they add iniquity unto iniquity. They won't hear anything about righteousness because they think they are safe from the judgment of the Lord until all these prophecies start come to pass, and then they start worrying. If they don't worry, they become more and more foolish, right? Until the evil actually gets to them personally, and now they want to find out who the Most High is, you know. And let us not forget that these were the same people who are actually saying that if God exists, why ain't He done this yet? Why, if He's going to do all these things, why hasn't He done it? They dared the Lord to do all these things. They actually wanted the Lord to show His power. So now the Lord is what he's calling them on their bluff. Okay, you wanted me to show you my power. I'm about to show it to you. Now let's see how well you do in these times. That's why they ain't gonna be no they ain't gonna be no going back to that point. You know, and there's I'm actually thinking of there's a show I believe brothers know about it, like Invincible, where before that the Viltrumite guy came in, you know, things were already bad. You already had a whole bunch of other Viltrumites come in and ransack the place, and they're like, oh my god, okay, we just got through this, but this is bad. Mad people have died. Let's rebuild, and then boom, then fucking dude just came in and made things even worse. So that's how it's gonna be. Yeah, but I should have watched it. But yeah, you know what I'm saying. you know,
You talk about conquest.
gone. He came in at the worst possible time.
Mm-hmm.
But that's how it's gonna be for people around here.
Yeah, that's a dope show. I definitely advise brothers to check that out. You get like the Viltrumites is obviously Israelites, and you get like the spiritual power aspect, and all of that. But I had a precept here. Excuse me. This is Jeremiah 23 and 16. And it reads, "Thus saith Yahweh of hosts, hearken not unto the words of the prophets that prophesy unto you." Oh, Slaka, let me read up one verse. Jeremiah 23 and 15. "Therefore, thus saith the Lord of hosts concerning the prophets, behold, I will feed them with wormwood and make them drink the water of gall. For from the prophets of Jerusalem is profaneness gone forth into all the land." And that's where you have these pork chop pastors. They're not talking about the prophecies. You have these fake Israelite camps, dudes doing things just for the spectacle, just for the clout. Okay, they're spreading profaneness in the land. And the Lord said, what? He's going to make you drink. He's going to feed you with wormwood and drink the water of gall, which represents what? Judgment. Okay, He's going to bring forth judgment upon you. Okay, you're going to drink down the cup of the Lord's wrath, essentially. Okay, because they're not warning about the things that brothers have been speaking on. All right, from our apostles on down, everything we've been speaking on this live, every time the Spirit gathers us, whether we do our lessons individually, we gather together. All of the brothers that are in the Spirit of the Lord are saying the same thing. Okay, and we're the only ones that's tuned in with reality, with what's actually happening. Okay, not this
pie in the sky, feel good nonsense that they feed you in other Israelite camps and these false Christian churches. Because many of these Israelite camps have just become basically Christian churches, you know, with an Israelite twist. You got fringes on. It's like TD Jakes if you were to wear fringes and go up there. Okay? And you're not learning anything. You're not learning about the prophecies. Okay? No, it says, going into the title, thus saith the Lord of hosts, hearken not unto the words of the prophets that prophesy unto you. They make you vain. Okay? And that's what it is. You become vain. You become filled with vanity. Your hopes are vain. Your desires are vain. Your expectation is vain because you just want to see this world continue. Okay? Everything that we say when it comes to destruction and judgment of the Lord, people don't like that. You know, those are not quote unquote attractive topics for people. All right, but we love to hear about it. You know, we love to speak about it. That's really all we ever speak about is the judgments of the Lord, the ways of the Lord, what the Lord is doing, how he's about to do it, what he's done in the past. That's what our obsession is. That's how a wife is supposed to be. She's supposed to be obsessed with whatever the plan of her husband is. She's supposed to be obsessed with it and how she can support it. And that's what the elect is likened unto, the virgin, the chaste virgin of the Lord. Okay? And that wife is going to be obsessed with the will of her husband. Whatever plan he has going, she's going to have to get down with it. Okay? But it says here, what do the false prophets make you? It says they make you vain. They speak a vision of their own heart and not out of the mouth of the Lord. Okay, so they're not speaking according to Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua. They want to come up with something else. Okay, they say still unto them that despise me, Yahweh hath said, ye shall have peace. And they say unto everyone that walketh after the imagination of his own heart, no evil shall come upon you. Right? God is good all the time. Nothing bad is ever going to happen to you. You know, you're going to just keep stacking up W's to the ceiling. You know, that's what they teach in these different churches and these different congregations, filling your mind up with vanity, man. You know, no evil will come upon you. Clearly, we're in a time of evil. We don't delude ourselves to think that, you know, or fill our minds up with delusions amongst ourselves and those of you that listen to us that we're not going to face tribulation. We're in an evil time. So to not be aware of that, you know, you're lost, man. You know, you're lost. Okay, the Spirit is not with you. So it says, for who have stood in the counsel of the Lord and have perceived and heard his word? Obviously, they have not stood in the counsel of the Lord. Obviously, they have not received the counsel of the Lord. Okay, and heard his word. Who have marked his word and heard it? You see, so which of them has actually paid attention to what the counsel of the Lord is? They want to speak their own flattering wickedness, man. Flatteries and lies, man, and vanity. Doctrines of men. Okay? But when you come to the true prophets, you're going to get a breakdown of what's happening in this world currently. Okay? Anything you ask, well, what's happening over there? Through the Spirit of the Lord, we'll be able to give you an answer. And if we don't have the answer, we'll pray to the Lord, do our research, and get you an answer. Okay? And if we can't, there's going to be another brother out there that can. That's why we're a body. Right? And it says here, behold, a whirlwind of the Lord is gone forth in fury, even a grievous whirlwind. It shall fall grievously upon the head of the wicked. And that's what's going to happen when the Lord brings forth his judgment. His anger is going to go forth as a fiery storm. Okay? When Yahweh Shah returns, man. And it says he's even going to give his men power. And we're going to have power to mount up with wings as eagles. All right? The anger of the Lord shall not return. And this is the point tying in with the title. The anger of the Lord shall not return until he have executed. You see, and who's that grievous storm is going to fall upon the head of the wicked. The furious anger of the Lord is going to fall upon the head of the wicked, which is the elites, man. And those of you in this world that are in accordance, we living in a world of zombies, man. Straight up demons. All of these people are possessed by demons. That's just what it is. Zombies. We're in the zombie apocalypse. You don't have to play a fantasy video game or get on Call of Duty Zombies to experience it. Just go, when we drive down 125th to get to camp. Well, that's the way I got to go. But brothers got to go through different avenues in the city where Jake is at. You see the zombie apocalypse, okay? Because they're all in accordance with the wicked, all right? That is what happens when you have a wicked ruler. The anger of Jeremiah 23:20, the anger of the Lord shall not return, all right? Meaning he's not going to pull it back, right? Until he hath executed, until he hath performed the thoughts of his heart. In the latter days ye shall consider it perfectly. You see, and this is what has happened. In these latter days, the Lord has put the Spirit on us once again, and it's right on time, because now is the time where we need the Spirit the most. We need guidance. With all of the evil that's happening, if you don't have direction, if you don't have the Lord, you're finished, man. You know, that's the scariest thought that we meditate on. One of the scariest thoughts we meditate on, if not the scariest, is if we didn't have the Spirit right now, where would we be? If we didn't have the Spirit right now, what would we be thinking about all the things that's happening around us? Okay, I'm going to read it in the NLT and I'm going to pass it to the next brother. The anger of Yahweh will not diminish until it has finished all he has planned. In the days to come, you will understand all this very clearly. And that shows you that back then they didn't fully understand the vision, you know, even the prophets. But in the latter days, which we're in now, the Lord opened it up to where we have 100% understanding of everything that's going on in this earth, man. All of the prophecies of old that were dark sayings to the men of old that preceded us, we have a full understanding of it, and we can break it down to you and give you 100% truth. You know, so it's up to the Lord whether you're going to receive it or not, and only the elect is going to receive it. All right, so there's no going back. We're at the point, we're at the point where the Lord, his word does not go out void. It goes out and it accomplishes what he desires, and it's clear that has happened. All right, and any second now you're gonna have a black swan or something major, and famine of the word is gonna break out, and you're not gonna see us no more. So you better get this word while you can. You know, that's it for me.
Beautiful. Yeah, I'm gonna go back to the article real quick. It's got a little information in there, so we're gonna jump on it real fast. It says I'm gonna start from the top. It says Israeli defense officials recently told their U.S. counterparts that Iran's ballistic missile program represents an existential threat and that Jerusalem is prepared to act unilaterally if necessary. It says, according to secretary sources, Israeli intentions to dismantle Iran's missile capabilities and production infrastructure were conveyed in recent weeks through a series of high-level exchanges. Military officials outlined operational concepts to degrade the program, including strikes on key manufacturing sites. And we know that's going to be pretty much the beginning of fireworks, because the Iranians will retaliate. All right, and that's what's going to start building up the tensions for actual World War III. Where we're talking like countries that are supposed to be in World War III assembling, all right, in the Valley of Jehoshaphat. You're going to start seeing that, all right, because of Israel's the Israelis actions, if you will, right? It says, quote, "We told the Americans we will strike alone if Iran crosses the red line we set on ballistic missiles," end quote. The source said, adding that Israel is not yet at that threshold, but is continuously tracking developments inside Iran. Okay, so it's again, hey, it's all through the spirit. All right, this is all part of what Yahushua said. He said, "What wars and rumors of wars." Okay, we are in that time. Okay, he said, after all these things is what the beginning of sorrows. You got, like Bakar was saying, you got people right now who are, very much in tune with this whole Super Bowl thing. I'm like, yo, bro, like they're saying when you go back into the economy, right? You're looking at the economy right now based on what the data is showing, right? Whatever data they be collecting, they're saying that where we are right now in terms of the economy is worse than the Great Recession back in 08, 09. Okay, So if that's the case, back then, people losing jobs, right? It was job security was an all-time low. They say right now it's worse than back then. But yet you still got people going around to do the Super Bowl shit. It's like they just living life like everything is good. I saw people going to a grocery store. The grocery store was packed today. Why? Because it's Super Bowl Sunday. You see, they're always stuck into this bubble of this fake reality. They don't want to get out of it. All right, and it's a quote from Noam Chomsky. He said, "The population, the majority of people, right, have no idea what's actually going on. Okay, and they don't even know that they don't know about the things that's going on. They don't know that they don't know. All right, so people like that, what are you gonna do with? What are you gonna do with people like that? Because that's the byproduct of the propaganda machine known as America and Israel. All right, they've done a great job, and I actually have a quote I want to read real quick from Edward Bernays, and he's top notch propagandist. All right, he said modern propaganda is a consistent, enduring effort to create or shape events to influence the relations of the public to an enterprise, idea, or group. Okay, so that's exactly what modern propaganda is, and that's why you have people today when all hell is breaking loose, geopolitically, domestically, all hell's about to break loose for them, and they're still out here focused on Super Bowl. Like most people don't even watch football, but because it's a thing that everyone is doing, oh, let me go do it too. Let me go buy wings. Let me go sit behind the TV and watch. I don't know who's playing. I don't even follow football, but that's the thing that Americans are doing today. It's Super Bowl Sunday, so we just gonna partake in it. They don't know why. They just do it because it's a ritual. Okay, it's based on nothing but sports. And what is sports? Sports is just anything to take your mind off of serious matters. That's what sports is there for. Okay, serious shit is going on. Give them bread and circuses so that they can shut up and we could keep doing what we're doing. We pay these niggas millions of dollars to keep you niggas distracted with sports betting, all this different fucking whole ass shit, man. Okay? Again, Aldous Huxley said all these things. He said, give them alcohol and technology, and they're going to build a whole prison that they're not even going to see as a prison. That's what you see right now. You got it, bro.
Yeah, just to land back off your point, there's certain cats I grew up with where, and I never understood. I'm like, these niggas will lose their mind if there's no football. Like during the summertime, it's like it's nice out, you can enjoy it, and then like they're like itching for football to come back on, and I never understood it. And now being in the truth, I'm like, oh, because your life is miserable, and you live vicariously through football players and whatever's going on the screen, all the crowds and the spectacle of it. But if you were to take that away, strip down all of the things that people actually live for, they'll want to kill themselves based off of the vain life that they're forced to live in Babylon, and they live for this shit. If there's not professional sports, you got certain men that'll literally be in a deep, dark depression. That's pathetic, man. As a man, you should have some purpose to live other than this bullshit. There's some brothers that might watch sports. I like to, sometimes I'll watch. I probably will watch the Super Bowl later, whatever, but I'm not living for that, I'm not living to watch basketball. We're not living for this bullshit. If the Lord, if we could have the option to say, burn all this right now immediately, or you can stay here, you already know what we're gonna pick. But you got people that actually will instead of choosing the kingdom, they'll choose this so that they can watch the Hawks go against the Patriots. And then once that's over, what's the next fix? This shit is gonna come and go. Then you're gonna have all the simps run into the grocery store for Valentine's Day. Okay, that's the next fix. Then the next fix up with Cinco de Mayo. Spring is coming, so they got Easter. All of this fucking bullshit, man. So when you look at the life here, it is no life. It's just straight vanity.
Con. Yep. And then they're going to be in vanity, and then the missile's going to drop on their ass because they're not paying attention, right? Like the lesson we did, last lesson we did, which was if you don't see it happening, you're not going to see it coming, right? People not watching. They're not. That's why Yahushua emphasized pray. It says watch as well as pray. Okay, watching is a very important thing, especially in these times. Because if you don't watch, you're not going to see, right? You just got to watch. You got to be able to watch so you can see what's going on, right? Even when you're crossing the street, they always teach you. Nowadays, they don't, because they have the street light thing there, so people don't use their brain to see, oh, there's a car coming or not. I can cross now. Because everything is digital. It's all there for you. You wait before you can cross. You wait for all the cars to stop because you're sheeple. We need to guide you so you don't get hit by a car. It's stupid shit. America, bro. Anyway, so it says here, the officials stress that Israel reserves freedom of action and emphasize that it will not allow Iran to restore strategic weapon systems on a scale that threatens Israel's existence. Iran never said they were going to come after Israel. They just said, just leave us alone. But Israel's the one that keep on propagating this shit. We're going to keep on the offense and call it defense. That's crazy. And America does the same exact thing because literally America is Israel by proxy. All right. A lot of people be like, oh, what you mean by that? Well, when you see Netanyahu pull up to the White House, what happens? You see your president pull the chair out for him, say, sit down, and you tap him on the shoulder. All right. You ask him if you want some water to drink. You want some cookies too on top of that? We'll get the milk ready if you want for dessert. Right? He's getting ready. What do you want to eat for dinner tonight, BB? Right? We'll make it. I'll have Melania in the kitchen real quick. You know what I'm saying? He gets treated like high level, man. To the point where even some of the people that be in the reps in the White House, they dislike BB because of how he looks down on everyone when he's there. A lot of people say that people who be working over there in the hotels and all that, they say, man, this nigga is a dirty motherfucker. He comes in, he throws shit around. I'm like, damn, this is who they are. And it's not hard to believe. Why? Because that's how they listen to how he speaks, right? He's very brash. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, this is Israel. We're going to take over. This is a country that, but shut the fuck up, man. We're tired of this nigga already, bro. Right? And he's going to lead America straight to that war, man. And we've been telling you, those who are not watching, this is what's coming. It says one defense official described the current moment as a historic opportunity, quotes, to deliver a significant blow to Iran's missile infrastructure and neutralize active threats to Israel and neighboring states. All right, so they always got to tie everybody else in. This is why we say Israel is going to be that vortex. They're tying everyone in by default, man. But we got to do this because if not, then all of us are going to be messed up. And then guess what? They're going to bring everybody in there and it's going to be like, Turkey going to jump in and be like, yo, we're not dealing with this. Turkey's a NATO country. Okay. So if there's beef between Israel and Turkey, America has to make a decision. And we know based on what Denmark and Greenland and all that, we know where America is going to be at, right? They're willing to burn bridges for their own interests. All right. At the behest of Trump saying, hey, we're going to go in there and do what we got to do. They're going to do it. They have the technology to do it, and they have the backing power of Yahweh Bashim Yahushai to do these things. It's all to fulfill biblical prophecy. Okay? Y'all brothers got it.
A quick thing. I just want to mention, like, based off, what we've been saying, what you've been saying, land backing off that point, they're so out of touch with reality. The missiles could be dropping, and these niggas will be putting up memes that, wow, we got nuclear Armageddon before GTA 6. That's how stupid niggas are. And honestly, that very well may be happening. When the shit goes down, you're gonna have niggas making memes and shit. What do you do, man? Get his ass out of here, What you gonna do with somebody like that? They make a joke out of everything. Wow, we got the Epstein files before GTA 6. They act like GTA 6 is the Messiah or something. It's a stupid fucking game. All right? Y'all got it.
Yeah, con. And hey, at the end of the day, just like the times of old, except this is on a much higher scale. We've seen how the story plays out, again, time and time again. It's the same repeat story with the same people doing the same things, angering the same God. The only exception is that this time the Lord is not gonna wound you. Okay, he's going to destroy you. And then he's basically gonna do what he wanted to do with Moses, but with the elect. He's gonna tell you, look, I'm gonna just start off with you guys. All right, because there's no point in delivering the whole entire nation. They're beyond deliverance. They are the bones that stayed dry bones in the valley. Not every bone in there got the breath in it. Some of them just stayed the spirit case. Oh no, I'm sorry, I can't help this one. No, that nigga too dry. You know what I'm saying? Just passed over.
Passed over. That's it.
It's passed over that. Because some of them they just can't get it. And it's like that. The spirit of truth comes and it just passes right by them because they're too dry to receive the word. So what do you do with bones like that? You burn them up. And then they're gonna come back again. And something I was thinking about is the last thing I'll say. But one thing I was thinking about was how the scriptures talk about those that will inherit the kingdom, you know. And we know that you're going to have all Israel in the kingdom. But when you really think about it, there's a difference between going into the kingdom through salvation, right? Going through the doors versus being born as a child in the kingdom. Because really, if you were born as a child of the elect, you're being born into, you could think of it like the inheritance of your father. Okay, you're going to get an inheritance from your father, which is one of the elect members, but they're going to get it directly from the Lord. Okay, they're going to directly get the fulfillment of that promise. So they're going to actually get to enter or inherit that kingdom through salvation. You're going to be born into it by the mercy the Lord is going to give you through those that actually the Lord gave it to, that walk through those actual gates, you know, because hey, it's not for everybody, but the best we can do is thank the Lord, you know, for that predestination. Because hey, one of the scariest things to think about is the fact that just as easily as you're an Israelite, you could have been another nation, could have been an Edomite, you know, and just as easily as you are not even just an Israelite, but you can hear the word and believe it, you could have been somebody out there who just didn't hear the word and believe it. So we didn't, like, when the scriptures talk about narrow escape, look at how many spirits are actually created. Right now, there's like what, close to 9 billion people on the planet. That's not counting those in the spirit world. That is a lot of spirits. If you were to do a ratio of 144,000 compared to billions, okay, that is a lot of spirits for the Lord to have said, boom, you, I'm gonna give you this word. So be grateful for it, man, because hey, it is what it is. Yeah, that's all I got.
It's a like a 0.000001% chance, something like that. You know, and that keeps you, when you meditate on that, it keeps you in a humbling mindset, because you truly know that you really had nothing to do with this, you know, happening, with you even having an opportunity to be called, right? Let alone chosen, you know, and that's why you have to make your call in the election sure. But the last one I got, tying back to the theme of, you know, the Sabbath sanctuary lesson, no turning back. Isaiah 55, verse, I'm gonna start at 9 in the NLT. It says, it's like your verse 10 in NLT. It says, the rain and the snow come down from the heavens and stay on the ground to water the earth. They cause the grain to grow, producing seed for the farmer and bread for the hungry. All right. And that is an ordinance, right? That's something that, you know, just like how the seasons always change and each season basically, you know, builds off of the next season, and it's a cycle of life, right? The Lord created this ordinance, and it was good, as we read in Genesis, right? When he had Yahweh and the angels, right, do what he was the architecture of, it all was done good. It was all in unison. It was balanced. It was paradise. And here you have this devil trying to undo that and switch it and add, you know, artificial and GMOs and all this BS just to throw off the cycle. That's why the scripture says that the earth, right, is out of course, right? You know, the earth is defiled under the inhabitants thereof. Um, but when you read that back in Isaiah, so it says, they cause the grain to grow and produce the seed for the farmer and bread for the hungry. Verse 11, it is the same with my word. I send it out and it always produces fruit. It will accomplish all I want it to, and it will prosper everywhere I send it. You see, and this is why, you know, the Lord sent the prophets as being the first sign, right? Isaiah, the 8th chapter, it tells you, I will send you I and them, the children that thou hast given me, are for signs in Zion. It's once the prophets, you know, started to awaken, right? Going to Ezekiel 37 and started to preach this word. That's when all of this end time, you know, prophecy started to get into motion, right? It started to move. And once that happened, there was no turning back, because the Lord set up the men of the Lord to push out his word. And the fact that we're actually saying his word and his name, it causes it, right? It's basically, you know, we're not causing it, but through the spirit, you know, we're causing these things to take place, because the Lord said, I have to send my word first, right? The Lord God will do nothing, but he revealeth his secrets unto his servants, the prophets. The Lord gave the word, who can then but prophesy? So once the word started to be prophesied, right, of the sea hit, right? We're speaking these things into existence of the end of the world, of America going into war. You know, during the time of the apostles, people didn't think Iran was going to be going to war with America, right? Iran wasn't on people's minds. You know, even when we, first, when I first started going out there, you hear it, but you look at geopolitical news and you're just like, yo, how is this going to happen? Like, what? Like, even even when he talks about the beast hating the whore, right? You'll see this before and be like, yo, how is Europe going to? But the Lord said, what? My word doesn't go out void. So now you're seeing it all take place. He's like, oh, no, the Lord literally, all he said for us to do is keep preaching it, keep saying this, keep saying it. Watch me work. Watch me actually make it happen. And that's what the rain does. You don't see how the rain actually you don't see how the rain actually grows the grain, but all you know is it rains and then all of a sudden things grow up. And that is an ordinance that the Lord made. So all you're seeing is us speaking this word and everything is all happening. So hey, the Wadi Shai for having us a part of this ministry, So that's it. That's all I got. I can close it.
God, beautiful, beautiful. Well, then we can wrap it up here. Lord willing, that was edifying to the elect, the Wadi Basham Yahweh Shai. And in closing, we want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Recha, Kodash. And until next time, Shalom.